Some of the things that I've had to do in the past wasn't pleasant. There was a lot of things that stick with you from the military and stuff like that wasn't pleasant. Seeing a guy get sucked up the intake of an A-7 aircraft isn't fun to watch. Those are some things that wasn't pleasant. I wish I could forget some of those things.
The thing that I think of first is an incident way back many years ago. I had a Volkswagen camper bus, and my wife was driving it the day after an oil change was done, and the oil low pressure light came on, and she didn't know what to do about it, so she just kept driving, and of course the engine burned up, froze up. It cost quite a bit of money to replace it. And we thought that the oil was lost out of the system because we'd had the oil change the day before, and the plug was put back in cross-threaded. So I think that's where the oil went to. So we instituted a suit against the company that did that, the garage that did that. That was owned by friends of my father's, which I didn't realize at the time. So I had to see my dad, embarrassed to no end, testify on the incident on what happened. He's the one that took the vehicle in for an oil change. He was testifying for his son against his friends, and that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't instituted that lawsuit. So that's something I would like to go back and change.
I wish I could forget how guilty I felt after my grandfather passed away. When he passed away in July of 2021, I felt so guilty because in my whole life, I felt like I never truly cherished him for what he was, never truly loved him for who he was, even though I know how much he loved me and cared for me. There were times in which I regretted everything I did and everything I didn't do. I wish I could forget how I felt then, not in the sense that I didn't learn from anything then, but all those feelings were kind of overwhelming at the time, considering how young I was. And to lose someone so close in my life that I really never had time to connect with and truly cherish, those were some really tough times. It was a really rough year or so. I just wish I could forget how guilty I felt afterwards, after he's passed away. So,
how people in my past have treated me, because I feel like that definitely holds me back, and I definitely internalized what they were doing to me, even though it really was a projection of themselves. I took it to mean that there was something wrong with me, and if I could forget that, I think I would be a lot happier and a lot more confident and just better off in life. I think I don't really know who I am. I think I'm still trying to figure that out. So when people tell me things about myself, I think I just believe them. I am always feeling like other people's perception of me is what is real, and that's what I'm putting out there. So if people think I'm a bad person, then I probably am a bad person, or people think I'm good at this one thing, so I'm probably good at that thing. So I don't know, I think I trust other people more than I trust myself to make my own judgment calls. Yeah, definitely people who did not take the time to get to know me were making judgment calls on me and treating me in a way that I don't think that I deserved. But while it was happening, in my head I was like, oh, I probably do deserve this. I'm not a good enough person for them to treat me good enough, so therefore I'm not a good person or something. So it was bad. I have never been comfortable being alone, but randomly, all of a sudden would rather be alone most times, which is not normal for me, but it's really, really good, and I'm really learning myself now, so it's good.
Oh my. Well, there's a lot of things that I wished I could forget, I would say that I wished I could be a better father, I wished I could go back and redo things, my mistakes, and it seems to me that a lot of people are haunted by their past. They fall in despair as though they ain't got no more hope in life. Being a Christian, I believe that there's a grace, the blood of Jesus Christ, that helps us. We may not be able to forget, per se, in our memory, but we can actually walk away from our past. I can truly say, by God's grace, that I'm not the person that I used to be. And that's the benefit of serving the Lord and accepting His pardon. One specific thing, that I wished I could forget, I don't know, I've got a lot of them maybe, in that way, but it's not something that's holding me down. I'm able to keep pressing on and not dwell upon the past, not dwell upon mistakes, not dwell upon these things, because I do have a hope.
There was like a lot of trauma and just like pain from like my childhood, and I'm like adopted, so it's a little weird. There were a lot of like good times and good memories that I had with like my biological parents, and so I kind of wish I forgot like all the bad times, so I didn't have like a bad perception, like a bad memory of them. Like I wish I had a better like relationship, and I was able to forget and like forgive all those bad things that happened, and so I could be kind of like have a better image of them in my mind. My parents, biological parents, they really had a hard time. Like their marriage was like falling apart from the beginning, and my like mom cheated on my dad, and things were just like really rocky with them. And so my parents split up, and my dad moved here to Virginia, and my mom stayed in Florida, which is where I was born in Florida. And they just got into like the wrong stuff. Like they started being like, they were like alcoholics, and they started just getting into like drugs, and it ended up being really hard for the kids. And Child Protective Services just stepped in and like took us away. Like, so it was a little hard. And then so we got like put into foster care, me and my siblings, and it was pretty hard. Like my parents now, they're doing really well. Like my dad remarried, and you know, he's really successful with his new business, and my mom's doing good down in Florida. So it all worked out well for them and us, but there's just some things that I wish kind of worked out better, you know?
If I could get one thing in my whole entire life, probably a relationship that I had with someone that was like 4 years on and off. It got to the point where it was controlling me, but at the same time, it got too deep for myself to even understand and handle, and it just ended in shambles. She was the first girl I ever dated. The clique that we had as kids faded out. She moved, I moved around. Life grew on, we grew older. She met different people, I met different people. Meeting people changed the experience of one's heart and mind.
Well, I lost one of my daughters 20 years ago, but I mean, it's nothing I could forget. I wish I would have spent more time with her. You know, you never know what's going to happen. She was a good person, and she lived in Indiana, and I lived in Florida, so I didn't see her as much as I wish I would have. She was only 22. When I saw her friends at the funeral, you know, she had done good things for them that I didn't know she had done. So.
I'm Puerto Rican. This is Roberto Clemente's t-shirt. We love him. As is common in a lot of Hispanic countries, we tend to have like all the family living with us. So parents, grandparents, even cousins sometimes. So after Hurricane Maria in 2016, 17, I'm blanking right now, we brought my grandmother here to the States. My family's in Tennessee. And so she ended up living with us until she passed. Of course, the memory of when she was coming, her life on earth was coming to an end, is one that I'll treasure forever. But the way the family reacted, I mean, when you're faced with like the end of this thing, this journey, for loved ones or for yourself, it's very visceral and haunting sometimes. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, I remember my mom, like when we walked into my grandmother's room, she wasn't gone yet, but we realized like there was a moment of crisis, and like it's something you'll like never see in any other moment except for when you're faced with mortality. And like the shriek, like twisting my shirt, like rigid, it was like something I'll never forget. And in some moments I wish I could. So that's my answer. More than scary, it's like a pain you know you can't ease. Like it wasn't my grandmother, it was my mom. Like I have no alleviation for that. Like she wants nothing to do with anybody. I'm not a part of that story in that moment. It's everything to do with my grandmother and the fear and like the pushing away the reality that is like her life coming to a close. And it came a bit of a surprise. So that was all that mixed together. It's like taking hot glass and throwing it in a bucket of ice. It just shatters, explodes. And that's what it felt like. And of course, like, I don't want to forget any memories, to be honest, because everything has the opportunity, maybe I'm blessed to say this, but has the opportunity to be a treasure or a learning experience or something. You can always pull truth and goodness out of anything if you really try. But I mean, if I had to, like, there would, like, a pain you can't alleviate. Like, that's something I would definitely want to ease, I think. Maybe for my mind, for my memory, so.